gestational stages through infancy.
So that's the definition of parent, but because we now cross parent out and put complainant, that, to me, that just opens the door at that point, right?
Well, the complainant would be these people who are attempting to get the services. The whole idea of the ombudsman is if we have legislated services for the mother, the expected mother, and the preborn, and actually once the child is born, if we have slated that and this person cannot get the services that they are entitled to, then that's the purpose of the ombudsman, is to get in touch with that agency, find out why, and then to also issue a report in the event, that they're unable to do it, so whether or not we need to change legislation.
And the purpose of this is for the ombudsman to provide these services for the parent, right?
That's right.
So what's the purpose, and maybe I missed the explanation, why take away parent from the language and then
They're
just
going
put
to
it with
become
them?
complainants. Does
It make a difference? I guess, what was the reason? Is there a legal reason that we needed to strike parent and put complainant?
Senator, as I said, I haven't had a chance to discuss this particular change with our legal staff. But if you back up just a few words, the phrase begins, the program from which and it said parent sought services, and it's now complainant, to be a little more specific. So in other words, this parent who's complaining was looking for services. They didn't get them. They're going to the ombudsman. So it's just a desire to be a little more targeted and a little more specific.
Well, I think, and this is just my personal opinion on that, maybe we should get with staff, just because I think parent is as specific as it's going to get, especially when we defined it in the first paragraph. And so to then remove that, that is the person who would be the complainant, the parent. And
Well,
so
why don't we do this? Why don't we go ahead and consider the amendment?
I just want it to be where it's not opened up, where now
And
anybody can be a complainant, and we didn't specify, and it's interpreted differently.
And we can reserve your right to bring that up in full committee,
Okay.
as well as potentially on the floor if need be. With that in mind, with your ability to do that. Any other questions, Council or Senator? Anything further? Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And then we've got the Senator Cash proxy. We're passing the amendment. Any opposed?
I'm going to oppose for myself and
Senator Matthews, he does have that proxy. All right, slate that is, what would be 4-2? As it relates to the amendment. All right. All right, with that, do I have a motion on the bill? Do I have a second? All right, discussion. Senator Tetters?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the last meeting, I brought up and I can prepare this for full, but the language in the bill, the term preborn,
Gotcha.
Did we ever define that in statute?
In other parts of the statute, there is some identification of a preborn at its earliest stages of development. For instance, in the double murder situation where mom gets shot, the mother gets killed, and the preborn baby gets killed. That bill says at any stage of development, and so there is some history, there is some precedent for that. So we're just leaving it as what it is, preborn.
Well, and the reason I ask is just what would be how would you differentiate that from embryo or fetus, which is, I mean, essentially a preborn child.
Well, there's all kind of gestational stages,
And,
so we're just doing one, and it includes all gestational.
And the concern I had with this one, and I mentioned it last time, is that for medical professionals, based on their training and what they're taught, I'm not sure that preborn is a term within their practice, their line of practice. And so embryo and fetus aligns with what they're trained to do. And so I just caution any confusion that we then send to the medical professionals that are dealing with these situations,
All right,
and make it
Do you have an
ambiguous.
amendment that you would like for us to review and vote on?
We can, yeah,
today?
if we can do, and this would be an oral amendment, if we could just replace preborn how it is in the bill and revert it back to embryo or fetus.
All right, and so you want to make move for an oral amendment on that basis?
That's correct. To
Do we have a second?
well, am I allowed to second for my proxy?
I think we have to have somebody here. Senator, what may happen is.
Well, we can. I'll offer it in full committee.
Just
Yep.
offer it in full committee,
Okay.
and again, we won't prohibit you from doing that, for sure.
Okay.
You're welcome to do that. All right, that takes care of that. Anything further? Any further discussion? All right, let's go ahead to a vote on the bill. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Aye.
Opposed. Yeah.
Opposed for you
And Senator Brown.
Senator Matthews. Thank you. All right, that takes care of that. Let's move to the next bill.
Mr. Chairman, I believe we are going to tab number 3 for H 4343. Is that
Okay,
correct, sir?
that's correct.
Okay. H 4343, this is a bill on human trafficking awareness and prevention training. It basically deals with allowing, Section 1, it's going to add completion of human trafficking awareness and prevention course as a continuing education requirement for license renewal, restatement, or reactivation of a licensed practical nurse, registered nurse, or advanced practical registered nurse. It states the terms of the approval, and it says every 6 years that these professionals shall be licensed. Every 6 years, this training shall be done for people licensed before January 1 of this year. And 2 years after the initial licensure, and every 6 years thereafter, the person initially licensed shall have this training on or after January 1 of 2026. A human trafficking awareness and prevention course required can only be provided by the Board of Nursing and must instruct on identifying suspected trafficking victims, laws for reporting such cases, and providing care and support to such victims. So in other words, the nursing profession is going to be adequately trained in how to identify an individual that's been victimized by this process. Section 2 is basically going to be the same type of framework, but it's going to be aimed at physicians, and it will enumerate in there emergency medicine, primary care, internal medicine, family medicine, pediatrics, obstetrics, gynecology, as well as a hospitalist, okay? And Section 3 is going to be the same type framework, and it's going to be the physician's assistant, the licensed physician's assistant that will have this training. And, Mr. Chairman, we subsequently received an amendment, and that amendment is actually the first document that you'll see under tab number 3. That amendment actually comes to us from the Office of the Attorney General. And the purpose of that amendment is just to make sure that any training that's done pursuant to this bill is going to comport with information reviewed by the South Carolina Human Trafficking Task Force Healthcare Subcommittee. And so I believe, I know for a certainty that the AG's office is here to give testimony specifically to that.
Okay. All right, let me just ask a couple of questions real quick. So the South Carolina Human Trafficking Task Force, that group that's been appointed, have they reviewed this?
Well, that's out of the AG's office, Mr. Chairman, and so they've submitted this. This is their Yes, sir.
request. Also on financial impact, provides have no expenditure impact on LLR.
I believe that's correct.
So they're having to be trained anyway, it's just another modality of treatment that they have to, or learning that they have to go through, another CLE that they have to. All right. All right. Anything before we get started? All right, who's ready to testify? Right. Hi, how are you today?
Hi, well, how are you?
Excellent. Could I get you to raise your right hand? Do you promise, swear, or affirm that you'll tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Monique Garvin, and I'm the director of the South Carolina Human Trafficking Task Force. I am here to provide remarks from our Survivor Advisory Subcommittee. So this bill supports the work that we're doing because it aligns human trafficking training for healthcare providers. It allows for consistent training across the state, and it already aligns with our state plan that is legislatively mandated through a 2014 proviso. So I would read you a lot of pages, but I'm going to make my remarks more succinct than I would before. And so these remarks were provided to us on behalf of our Survivor Advisory, one of our members, really detailing her experience with human trafficking and the way that the healthcare system could have perhaps stepped in, intervened to support her. My name is Heather Pagan. I am an 18-year-old survivor of human trafficking and sexual exploitation, and I'm here today to provide personal testimony on the importance of requiring ongoing human trafficking training for healthcare professionals. For the ages of 5 to 10, I experienced childhood sexual abuse. During that time, I was seen by many healthcare professionals, not only in hospitals, but also in mental health institutions. Despite repeated contact with the medical system, the abuse was never identified, and I was never asked questions that could have led to intervention. Between the ages of 14 and 15, I was groomed and trafficked. During that period, I again came into contact with healthcare professionals many times. By the time I was 18 years old, I had already been trafficked for 3 years, had 2 kids, 1 forced medical procedure, and experienced 5 pregnancies, all by age 30, 3 of them while I was still a minor. The pattern did not stop. For the next decade, I was in and out of hospitals with 3 additional pregnancies and numerous serious injuries, including broken bones and cracked ribs. I sustained a gunshot wound during a trafficking situation. The bullet was removed by my handler, but I was later taken to the emergency room due to a resulting infection. I was also severely beaten by one of my handlers, which caused a traumatic brain injury. As a result, I continue to suffer from debilitating headaches to this day and still require neurological care. In another incident, I was involved in a serious car accident while driving from one commercial sex call to another. I hit a tree head-on, fracturing my hip and pelvis. The emergency medical responder who pulled me from the vehicle recognized me and contacted my handlers to tell him about the accident and my condition because he was a frequent buyer. I never received physical therapy or follow-up treatment because my handler refused to allow it. During my final pregnancy, which resulted in a very premature birth and required a C-section, the father, who was also the handler, never left my hospital room. On one occasion, believing that pain medication would keep me unconscious, he left. When I woke up and realized he was gone, I fled the hospital without discharge because it was the only opportunity I had to escape. When I reflect on these experiences, what stands out most is that I was repeatedly seen by healthcare professionals, yet I was never truly seen. I was not heard, I was not asked. We know that trauma-informed care is crucial. Patients must be treated with dignity, not judgment. They should never be dismissed because of their appearance, their behavior, or their circumstances. Survivors deserve the opportunity to be asked appropriate, informed questions, to be offered options so that they can make informed decisions about what they are ready to share if someone simply gave them the chance. Trauma-informed survivor-centered training equips healthcare professionals to recognize red flags of trafficking and coercive control, safely separate patients from controlling individuals, ask appropriate, non-judgmental questions, offer options and resources without forcing disclosures, and connect victims to services when they are ready. Today, I do see a positive change happening in our state, and as a lived experience expert, I am thankful. I may have been missed, but it does not mean that it has to stay that way. We can continue working to ensure our state is a place that helps rather than harms. Training healthcare professionals in human trafficking identification and response will help prevent victims from slipping through the cracks. Human trafficking has always existed. What has changed is our awareness and our ability to respond. Healing can begin in healthcare settings, but only if professionals are trained to recognize what is in front of them. This work can and should start within our healthcare system. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your commitment to making a difference.
It couldn't have been better said.
I thought so too. I had my own remarks, but I think hers reflected it a lot better. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Any questions? Thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the opportunity to review this, and hopefully we can help folks like that who are trafficked. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Mr. Chairman, that's the only amendment that we have, so I guess we'd need to.
Let's move adoption.
Move adoption, second. All those in favor, aye. All those opposed? All in favor? Okay, unanimous. All right, let's go ahead and go to the bill. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. And then both of you? Sir? One comment, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you with the task force. Thank you for what you all are doing in the AG's office, bringing this forward. And that story, and I meant to mention this earlier, while sad to hear that, it's good to see that you all are doing the work to address these issues, and anything that we can do to help deter these types of acts, we're more than willing and happy to assist. So thank you for your work and your advocacy for these victims.
Thank you for those remarks, Senator Tedder. All right, let's move to the next one. Gene, would you call out the next bill?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, this will be the final item for today's work. It's actually going to be under tab number 1. This deals with, this is S-299. It was heard initially last week. We offered public testimony. We did have some. It regards a certificate expiration. That's going to be extended to 3 days after conditions are safe for transport in case of a life-threatening condition or natural disaster. And again, this is all pursuant to that tragedy that occurred a number of years ago with the mental health patients that were being transported during a storm, and their eventual sad demise in Horry County. Section 2 deals with the authorized transport. It restates the time extensions in Section 1 that I just went over. It allows a relative or friend to participate in the transport only if the patient is deemed not a flight risk or a harm risk, and if the friend or relative can do it in a timely manner. It adds the hospital and the department to the entities that are allowed to arrange transportation. It establishes departmental minimum standards for transport, and it creates civil liability immunity for law enforcement and EMTs, the certifying physician, and a third party that meets those minimum standards previously referred to.
Okay, as I believe we already had testimony on this, is that correct?
That's correct.
And as Senator from Colleton, there was some discussion about the potential for an amendment to help the young lady who was here. We kind of left this open for that possibility. There was a young lady who had an amendment, but it wasn't consistent with.
going to submit it.
Right.
We had it all along. We just need to know if somebody's going to offer it.
All right, so have we voted on that one yet?
I don't believe we actually voted on that amendment, Mr. Chairman. We have it in hard copy. We can certainly pass it out if people want to see it again. Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and do a vote on it, unless there's a change, unless you've got an additional. And Senator, if you feel like you need to put something up at full or on the floor, then you're not going to be prohibited from that. All right, do I have a motion on this amendment? Yes.
I had a question. Under this amendment, the licensed physician still has to make the determination, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and the independent licensed master's level health clinician, we're just allowing them to sign stating that it's been examined by the physician, correct?
That's correct.
That's, okay. And, okay, I'm still trying to figure out why we would need it, because if the physician does the exam, it seems like they would sign the paperwork right then, unless maybe there's some extensive paperwork needs to be done, and it would help them. It was at the premise that it would help them later, expedite things later.
Yeah, and if I may, Mr. Chair,
Certainly. Senator Tedder?
I think because I was trying to recall, and I think you're right that I don't know if we need it. I think just for now, maybe it would be my position that we hold this to look at it further, just to make sure, because I agree with you that if the doctors are doing it, we may not need this, but I would be comfortable holding this, and then if we need to do it, take it up at full, maybe.
Mr. Chairman,
Let's go ahead and take it, let's go ahead and vote on it now.
On the amendment, or?
On this amendment. The chair is opposed to this amendment. It doesn't really add anything, in my estimation. And as Senator from Charleston, of course, I won't speak for her, but in her colloquy with the person that brought it, there was a different thing that she was trying to accomplish, as I recall. And it was not in this.
She was supposed to get with.
She was supposed to.
She was adding the portion that's highlighted.
No, she was actually trying to do something, as my recollection was, she was trying to say that if I see somebody on the street, that a master's level clinician should be able to get them into some type of treatment. And my comment was, under our current law, she can do that, and I believe the senator provided the question, well, how would she know the name? And apparently she said this was Mr. Gambrell, Senator Gambrell's bill initially, and that the bill or the amendment that she was put up was not what she had thought it was to be.
This amendment doesn't address her concern.
Right. So I'd like to go ahead and vote on this amendment and get it done if we can. No, didn't want to move favorable. I want to vote on it as to whether or not it's going to be made favorable. Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt the amendment? Do we even have that? Pardon? Right. All right, table. All right. All those in favor of tabling the motion say aye. Aye. All right, so it's tabled. All right. Let's go to the bill itself. Does Senator from Greenville have a question? Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second.
Since there's a motion and a second, are we
Ready
entertaining any
discussion?
questions? Yes.
Yes, we're ready for discussion.
Under this,
Senator from Colleton, you're recognized.
thank you, I apologize for just getting here and getting caught up. under S-299, in the explanation, and I'm trying to find it, and maybe you can help me regarding, can we get a further explanation of civil liability immunity and how that relates to qualified immunity?
All right. And so there's civil liability immunity for law enforcement officers, EMT.
So my question is, I'm trying to look for it in here,
Okay,
in the bill itself,
okay.
the authorized transport bill, and I want to know, how do we equate that with the federal level of qualified immunity? And I just want to make sure that we're not doing anything to be inconsistent with federal law.
Has our person,
Because right now, under
We looked at the-
15, under the immunity statute as it relates to law enforcement officers, it has to get to, or any EMTs or any persons under the act, it would have anything that's, it would have to be reckless, willful, in that area.
under the
So,
Tort Claims
yeah,
Act is what you're
right,
talking about?
Right, under
Okay.
1540. So
Okay.
I want to make sure that we get a specific reference, because it's, the summary here that's on our screen says civil liability immunity for, but it doesn't have a standard. And if so, where is it in here? I want to make sure it's not in conflict with,
I'm looking to see where it's at in the bill.
I am too, and I don't see it.
Senators, it's the very last section of the bill. It's D. While acting in accordance with this section, a law enforcement officer, emergency medical technician, certifying physician, or a third party meeting the minimum standards of the department is immune from civil liability.
Doesn't that conflict with the Tort Claims Act? These people are working under the Tort Claims Act. You're not immune, you're never immune from civil liability if you've done something reckless or willful. So that subsection D,
It
is
sets
incorrect.
sets the minimum standards, which the
It
Tort
sets
Claims
no
Act would,
standards.
no, it says minimum standards.
No, that only refers to a person meeting the minimum standards
Meeting.
of the department. It doesn't refer to the act. With this section.
All right, let me, do we have anyone
Don't
here
know.
from the
It
department
doesn't say.
to testify about this question?
Well, you could be acting in the course and scope of your employment, but
You
your
mess up, yeah.
conduct is so egregious or willfully negligent
Yeah.
that it violates the Tort Claims.
Tort Claims Act.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't say,
Let's-
I don't know.
Let's hear from the
should strike
expert. They're the ones who sent this to us. I'm assuming that, and I hope they've considered the Tort Claims Act in the analysis. State your name, ma'am, for the record.
Hey, Robin Crawford,
Robin, would you
Department of,
raise your right hand? Promise, swear, and affirm, tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do,
All right, and so you're from which department?
Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't have the answer for you. One of our retired attorneys wrote this language, and I'm not an attorney, so I don't want to weigh in on this.
Okay.
The intention of this part of the legislation was to get the hospitals and doctors comfortable utilizing the alternative transport program that's funded by the legislature. I think when the program was implemented, there was some concern, excuse me, about sending patients with the program, and questions about where the liability might land if something happened during that transport. So I'm comfortable changing the language to reflect that or taking it out fully while we look at that piece.
Senator, would you like to ask a
You,
question?
yes, may I
You certainly may.
yield? So you're not an attorney, correct? And it was not the intention that this would pre-up or take the place of the Tort Claims Act?
No, that was not the
Okay.
intention.
I practiced law for my first 5 years when I was a baby lawyer as a tort claims lawyer, defending municipalities. So that's why I have a problem with this, and right now, we do the same thing on the federal level, and you're never immune from civil liability, even though you're acting in the course and scope of your employment. So I just think maybe it's inartfully drawn. I think we need to figure it out, though.
I agree.
All right, so is there a motion to carry this over?
So moved.
All right. All those in favor? All right. Let's carry it over. And y'all mind getting with us? And let's try to get this.
Yes.
We'll try to get it on the next sub, whenever we have another sub.
Yep.
And so we can move it forward. I'd like to get it done this year if at all
Yeah.
possible. Thank you so much.
D and
That's everything,
insert.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Gambrell, you blessed us with your presence. Is there anything you would like to say, sir?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just appreciate y'all hearing the bill, and I
So
think you're
is it-
familiar with the lady.
You're the
on-
reason why we're here?
No, well, yeah, pretty much. Well, you know, it's always me. But I think you're familiar with the lady that moved from New Mexico to Abbeville that had a big hand in writing their legislation. And through Jean's help, we took her ideas and kind of sent it over to DMH, and
Okay.
they've come back with what we're looking at today, and I appreciate y'all's consideration.
Yes, sir, thank you. You understand what we're trying to do?
Absolutely.
We just need some additional information.
Absolutely.
She's raised a very good issue about qualified versus absolute immunity.
Absolutely.
And we need to address that. So
That's why
thank you.
she's a lawyer and I'm not.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Thanks for her help. Thank you. All right, I think we can be adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. What did we do on the
What were you
other?
going to ask me?
Thank you for covering.
This was just a regurgitation.